Hello friends, how are you? Shall we start our class today? So let's go. Seren, a name as unique as her personality, was tidying up the living room when her hand brushed against something lodged between the couch cushions. Her brow furrowed as she pulled out a small velvet box, its sleek exterior sending a spark of curiosity through her. Slowly, almost cautiously, she opened it, and her breath caught in her throat. Inside was a beautiful diamond ring, its facets catching the fading sunlight streaming through the window. "Is this an engagement ring?" she murmured to herself, her heart doing an excited flip. Seren's mind immediately jumped to Lucas, her boyfriend of 3 years. Was he planning to propose? The thought sent a rush of warmth through her, but doubt crept in just as quickly. Lucas hadn't mentioned anything about taking that step. Could this be part of a surprise, or was there something else she wasn't seeing? Later that evening, as Lucas sat on the couch engrossed in his phone, Seren decided to test the waters. "So, anything special happening at work lately?" she asked, trying to sound nonchalant as she brought over 2 cups of tea. Lucas glanced up briefly and shook his head. "Not really. Just the usual stuff," he replied, offering a quick smile before returning his attention to the screen. Her gaze lingered on him, searching for some sign. Excitement, nervousness, anything that could hint at his secret. "You've seemed distracted lately," she ventured, keeping her tone light. "Is everything okay?" Lucas chuckled, looking at her. "Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it be?" His answer seemed genuine, but it only deepened the questions swirling in her mind. The following evening, Seren decided to create an opportunity. She planned a cozy dinner at home, setting the table with candles and their favorite dishes. It wasn't unusual for her to do something special, which made it the perfect setting to test Lucas's intentions. As they sat down, Seren smiled warmly. "I figured we could have a nice dinner together. It feels like it's been a while since we had a proper date night." Lucas looked up, momentarily surprised, but then returned her smile. "This is really nice, Seren. Thanks for doing this." They ate in relative silence at first, but Seren's mind was far from still. She kept glancing at him, wondering if he'd use this moment to say something, anything, about the ring. Finally, she decided to probe a little further. "So," she started, swirling her glass of wine, "do you ever think about the future? You know, where we're headed?" Lucas paused mid-bite and looked at her curiously. "Of course I do," he said after a moment. "Why do you ask?" Seren shrugged, trying to appear casual. "I don't know, I just feel like we've been together long enough to start thinking about bigger things." Lucas nodded thoughtfully but didn't elaborate. Instead, his phone buzzed on the table, pulling his attention away. He glanced at the screen, his expression briefly shifting before he picked up the device and typed a quick reply. Seren's heart sank. "Is everything okay?" she asked, masking her frustration. "Yeah," Lucas said, putting the phone face down on the table. "Just something from work." But Seren wasn't convinced. His vague answers and distracted behavior only fueled her suspicions. As the evening went on, her doubts grew stronger. She smiled and laughed at his jokes, but inside she was more determined than ever to uncover the truth. Seren's nerves were on edge as she sat in her car, parked discreetly down the street. Earlier that evening, Lucas had left home claiming he had a work meeting. But Seren's growing doubts had pushed her past hesitation. Tonight she would find out the truth. She followed Lucas at a safe distance, her hands gripping the wheel tightly. He parked in front of an upscale restaurant, and Seren watched as he walked inside with his phone in hand. Moments later, a woman joined him at his table. Seren's heart dropped. The woman was elegantly dressed and greeted Lucas with a warm, familiar smile. They exchanged a few words, and then Seren saw it. Lucas sliding the velvet box across the table toward the woman. A wave of disbelief and hurt washed over her. Is this who the ring was for? She thought, blinking back tears. Seren grabbed her phone and quickly took a picture through the restaurant's window, her hands trembling. The image of Lucas and the woman together burned into her mind, confirming the betrayal she feared. As she sat in her car, watching their interaction from a distance, doubt turned into heartbreak. She wanted to burst into the restaurant, demand an explanation, and confront Lucas, but something held her back. Instead, she decided to leave, her mind spinning with unanswered questions. The drive home was a blur. Seren's chest tightened with every passing moment as she replayed the scene in her head. When Lucas returned later that night, she barely acknowledged him, retreating into the bedroom before he could say anything. The picture she had taken on her phone stared back at her, proof of a reality she couldn't ignore. The following evening, Seren could no longer hold back her emotions. She sat on the edge of the couch, waiting for Lucas to come home. As soon as he walked through the door, she stood, phone in hand, the photo of him and the woman pulled up on the screen. "We need to talk," Seren said, her voice firm but trembling with the weight of her feelings. Lucas set down his bag, his eyebrows knitting in confusion. "What's going on?" Seren held up her phone, the image clear as day. "Care to explain this?" Lucas stepped closer, his confusion turning into shock as he saw the photo. "Wait, Seren, this isn't what it looks like." "Not what it looks like." Seren's voice rose. "I saw you. I followed you to that restaurant. You gave her the ring, Lucas. How could you do this to me?" Lucas ran a hand through his hair, looking overwhelmed. "Seren, just listen to me for a second. Please." "Why should I?" She shot back, her eyes brimming with tears. "After everything we've been through, this is how it ends? With you cheating on me?" "I'm not cheating on you," Lucas said, his tone desperate. "That woman, she's a jeweler. I had her adjust the ring because it wasn't the right size. I was trying to make it perfect for you." The words hung in the air, and Seren blinked, unsure if she'd heard him correctly. "What?" Lucas sighed, his expression softening. "I've been planning to propose, Seren. I wanted it to be special, but I didn't know how to make it perfect. The ring didn't fit right, so I asked her to fix it. That's all it was." Seren stared at him, her emotions swirling, relief, embarrassment, and disbelief all at once. "Why didn't you just tell me?" She whispered, her voice cracking. "I didn't want to ruin the surprise," Lucas said gently. "But now I see how much I hurt you by keeping quiet. I'm sorry, Seren." Seren sat on the couch, the weight of Lucas's words sinking in. She looked at him, her voice softer now. You mean all this time you were just trying to make it perfect? And I've been thinking the worst. Lucas knelt in front of her, taking her hands in his. Seren, I didn't want to rush this. You mean so much to me, and I wanted everything to be flawless. But in trying to surprise you, I ended up hurting you. That's the last thing I ever wanted. Tears welled in Seren's eyes, and she couldn't help but let out a small laugh. I guess I should have trusted you more, huh? No, Lucas said, shaking his head. You had every right to be upset. I should have handled this better. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the familiar velvet box. Seren's heart skipped a beat as he opened it, revealing the ring she had found just days ago, now perfectly adjusted. I planned to wait for the perfect moment, Lucas said, his voice tender. But maybe this is it. Because if there's one thing I've learned through all this, it's that no plan is perfect. What matters is us, right here, right now. Seren blinked as tears spilled down her cheeks. She was overwhelmed, not just by the beauty of the ring, but by the sincerity in his eyes. Lucas took a deep breath, still kneeling in front of Seren. He held up the ring, his eyes locking with hers. Seren, he began, his voice steady despite the emotion behind it. I've been dreaming of this moment for so long. You're the love of my life, my best friend, and the person I want to spend every single day with. Seren's heart raced as she listened, tears streaming down her cheeks. The doubts, the confusion, and even the heartbreak of the past days felt like distant memories in that moment. All she could feel now was the deep love they shared. Will you marry me? Lucas asked, his voice soft but full of hope. Seren couldn't help but laugh through her tears. You could have saved us both a lot of stress by asking this a little earlier, she teased, her smile radiant. She placed her hand on his, gazing at the beautiful ring. Yes, Lucas. Of course I will. Lucas slipped the ring onto her finger, and the world seemed to pause for a heartbeat. Then, as if breaking a spell, they both burst into laughter, the weight of the past days lifting completely. Seren leaned forward, wrapping her arms around him as he stood to meet her embrace. I love you, she whispered. I love you more, Lucas replied, holding her tightly. The story closed with the two of them sitting together on the couch, holding hands and planning the life they would build together. The road to that moment hadn't been perfect, but it was uniquely theirs, a story of trust, patience, and love stronger than misunderstandings. It's great to see you here. Tell me in the comments what you thought of the story and what level of difficulty it was for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell so you don't miss new stories, and like if you liked it. I'll see you next time. Bye.